Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of our video series where we rank the best roller coasters that opened in a specific year. It's time to do 2006, which was the strongest year in the mid-2000s in terms of new world-class roller coaster additions. Not counting relocations, a total of only 20 new coasters were built in the US in 2006. And while the overall number is low, the top 10 is incredibly stacked. So, without further ado, here are the top 10 coasters that opened in 2006. Well, after our theme song. As always, the coasters on this list are ranked based on how they operated at the time of their opening year. That is, if they became rougher, or have been closed, or had modifications in later years, that will not play a role in how they're ranked today. We also only rank coasters that were newly constructed for the 2006 season. So you will not see coasters that were built prior to 2006, relocated, and then opened at a different park in 2006. Due to the very low number of new coasters built, we don't have any honorable mentions, but hi, Mom. Drifting its way into the number 10 spot is a TALIAN job turbo coaster at what was then Paramount's King's Dominion, now known as BACKLOT stunt coaster. It is easily the best coaster themed to a heist. Wait a second. Why do I feel like I'm repeating myself? Oh, yeah. We literally just talked about this coaster in the last video. Taking a page out of the Six Flags playbook, Paramount cloned a TALIAN job stunt track from Kings Island and Canada's Wonderland 1 year later at King's Dominion. And just like Paramount was in 2006, we're too lazy to come up with something new to say about this coaster. So, you can go watch our 2005 video linked at the end of this video to get the full description. If you don't like this coaster at number 9, are you even a real American? PATRIOT at Worlds of Fun is one of the newer inverts by Bolliger and Mabillard. Yeah, only one other has been built in the US over the last 16 years, Banshee at Kings Island. But in 2006, PATRIOT continued the trend of Cedar Fair installing smaller B&M inverts into its parks after they added Talon at Dorney Park in 2001 and Silver Bullet at Knott's Berry Farm in 2004. PATRIOT is 3,081 feet in length, 149 feet tall, and has a first drop of 123 feet, where it reaches a top speed of 60 miles an hour, and features the same 4 inversions as the aforementioned Talon: a vertical loop, a zero-G roll, an Immelman, and a corkscrew. It's nothing to write home about, and why you would tell someone you're in Missouri is beyond us. But a mediocre B&M invert is still better than no coaster at all, which is what Worlds of Fun would go on to do from 2010 through 2022. Number 8 is X Coaster at Magic Springs, not to be confused with this X Coaster. X Coaster was, and is still, the only more ride Skyloop in the US, and we're not sure why more parks didn't buy this one because the ride is downright terrifying. With just a lap bar, riders are lifted up a 151-foot tall vertical lift hill that completely inverts upside down at the top while the car is still attached to the lift chain. The car is released where the track is angled down and then twists 360 degrees, so riders are inverted once again before dropping back down towards the station. The view from the top is incredible, and watching the world spin around you from that height is really awesome. Riders pass through the station at the 65.3 miles per hour top speed and ascend the vertical lift once again, but this time, gravity takes over rather than fully climbing the lift. The car then falls backwards, travels through the station again, and up the second inversion where it stalls out. The car passes through the station once more, but this time it catches on the lift and is safely returned to its original loading position. X Coaster is a unique experience you won't find anywhere else in the US, and is likely the inspiration for Premier Ride's Skyrocket 2 model that debuted a few years later. Twisting its way into the number 7 spot is Kentucky Rumbler at Beach Bend, their second coaster in as many years to make our lists. This Great Coasters International Custom Woody was the first designed by Jeff Pike, who would go on to design other favorites such as Renegade and Gold Striker. And while it isn't ranked very high amongst coaster enthusiasts today, when it opened, it was listed by Amusement Today magazine as one of the top 5 new rides in the world, as well as ranking in the top 20 wooden coasters in both the Golden Ticket Awards and the Mitch Hawker poll. Rather awesome is how the famed and long-defunct airplane coaster at Wright Playland in New York served as the inspiration for Kentucky Rumbler's first drop. The ride stands 98 feet tall, reaches a top speed of 47 miles per hour, and features 30 track crossovers and 12 airtime hills. It also set a record with 3 station flybys. I guess there's a record for anything these days. At 90 seconds, the ride duration is pretty long, and it's actually still quite smooth for its age, unlike us. Kentucky Rumbler most definitely put Beach Bend on the map. Heck, it probably put the entire state of Kentucky on the map, because we can't think of any other reason to visit it at that time. I guess unless you like horses or whiskey. Scaling to the number 6 spot is Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain at Disney's Animal Kingdom. At a cost of $100 million, it was the most expensive roller coaster ever built at the time of its opening. In fact, it was entered into the Guinness Book of World Records for this stat, and also single-handedly made Animal Kingdom finally worth visiting. As the name implies, it's themed to Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world above sea level. Expedition Everest stands at a height of 199.5 feet, coming just under the 200-foot tall limit that would require it to have a blinking red light at the top for aviation safety. And aptly is the tallest of all the Disney mountains. Expedition Everest features 2 lifts, 2 track switches, and an incredibly disorienting backward section, and 1 frightening Yeti animatronic, which unfortunately has been rendered motionless since a few months after the ride opened. Still, it is by far the best themed coaster on this list. But just like how money can't buy happiness, it also can't buy a higher spot on this meaningless, opinion-based list. It also goes to show just how stacked the top 5 is. El Rivière el número 5 est Goliath at RONDE.
Dude, we went over this during the 2002 video. That park is in Canada.
Yeah, but Canada is part of America.
But look at our logo. It's the US flag. We are clearly a channel for roller coasters in the United States of America.
Okay, you got me. But I just wanted another excuse to make fun of Canada again.
I'll allow it.
Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to French Canada!
Just stay calm, boys. French Canadians are a little odd.
Goliath at RONDE is a B&M Junior Hyper, albeit one with an uninspired layout. After rising roughly 175 feet in the air, the train drops 171 feet straight into a hill. Another hill. And another hill. Oh hey look, a turnaround. Why is it so flat? Oh great, another hill. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Finally, it's over. Flying at the speed of fear into 4th place is Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Wait, what the f does that even mean?
It's not worth your time trying to understand the brain of the same PR department that came up with Ride Out Loud for Scream.
Good call. Anyway, up to this point, B&M had played it safe with their flying coasters. But Tatsu is 170 feet tall, reaches 62 miles per hour, and has 4 bone-crushing inversions. They really went from 0 to 100 when designing it. Like X-Coaster, Tatsu is also downright terrifying. Nothing really compares to climbing its massive lift hill and looking straight down while feeling completely exposed. Tatsu's first drop sends you flying down over roaring rapids straight into its first inversion, a huge corkscrew near Sky Tower. There's no time to rest as the track twists into a 0G roll and an overbanked high turn above the park. Then into what many consider the most intense moment on any coaster, the iconic yet blistering 120-foot tall pretzel loop. If you're gassy, Tatsu's pretzel loop will alleviate your symptoms. There's yet one more inversion, another 0G roll, and finally a helix before the ride ends. Instead of fly at the speed of fear, its tag should be fast relief for gas and bloating. And since Six Flags loves its ride sponsors, Tatsu, presented by GasX. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Goliath.
Goliath who?
After talking about Tatsu, I need to Goliath down.
Yeah, I can't with you anymore. Can you please just do this one normally?
Alright, fine. I'll do this one normally. Fighting its way into the number 3 spot is Goliath at Six Flags over Georgia.
That's normal?
Oh, sorry, you said normal. Alright, it's the second Goliath on this list, except this one has a killer layout. Just barely qualifying as a true hypercoaster, this Goliath stands at 200 feet tall, but its first drop is 175 feet. Then again, the first hyper, Magnum XL200, also has a drop under 200 feet, so there's that. The track then climbs a large camelback hill over Georgia Scorcher and drops towards the road on the outside boundaries of the park. After a bank left turn into another massive camelback hill with tons of airtime over a pond, Goliath completely changes it up by going into a crazy intense 540 degree downward helix where it pulls a really good amount of positive Gs. The trims at the bottom of this helix are present but not on, and the ride finishes with ejector airtime hill after ejector airtime hill with some high-speed turns thrown in for good measure. The last little speed bump hill before the brakes provides one last ejector pop of airtime before the ride comes to an end. It's really one of the few rides we've been on that gets more and more intense as the ride goes, not letting up until the very end. Hey, Six Flags Over Georgia, want to swap with Magic Mountain? Pretty please? Which takes us to a very close top 2. And this honestly could have gone either way. It's more like a 1A and 1B scenario, but somebody's got to come in second. Therefore, bucking the number 2 spot is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. And for those of you who don't habla español, El Toro is Spanish for the Toro. It was the third of what would end up being 4 prefabricated wooden coasters by Intamin, and it's a shame they didn't make more. When it opened, El Toro had the steepest drop on any wooden coaster in the world at 76 degrees. Also, with a height of 181 feet and a top speed of 70 miles per hour, it ranked as the second tallest and fastest wooden coaster in the world, after Son of Beast at Kings Island. Now known as a painful experience, when it was new, the only pain you'd feel was from the insane injector airtime that literally tried to rip you out of the train, especially down its first drop and on the famed Rolling Thunder Hill. Just listen to this. You can literally hear the airtime. Hopefully El Toro gets the love it needs to bring it back to one of the best in the world, which takes us to a coaster that gets the attention it needs and still runs great today. Finally, without any surprises, sailing the high seas into the number 1 spot is the Voyage at Holiday World. But before you Intamin fanboys come at us with pitchforks, hear us out. These coasters are ranked on how they operated at the time of their opening year. And when the Voyage opened in 2006, it was not only butter smooth, but operated without mid-course brakes, just like it does during Hollywood Nights. And man, it was epic. It also ran with 7 cars, whereas now it's only 6, so even more airtime in that back row. At 6,442 feet long, the Voyage is the Energizer Bunny of coasters. It just keeps going and going and going and going. When you hit the mid-course, it feels like it could be over, but then somehow it picks up more speed. When we rode for the first time, there were several moments where it felt like the ride could be over, but it wasn't. And if you're a fan of taking the tunnel, the ride has 5 of them. The Voyage was designed by the Gravity Group and set the record for most airtime on any coaster, a record that stayed with the Voyage for 12 years until Steel Vengeance opened at Cedar Point. It's one of the few coasters that leaves us exhausted after just one ride, but it's so darn good we just can't help but jump back in line. Okay, this concludes our top 10 coasters that opened in 2006. It was a rather thin year in terms of number of new coasters, especially compared to the start of the decade, but what was built was rather strong, especially the ones making the top 4. Did any ranking surprise or upset you? What would you change in your own ranking? Let us know in the comments below. We'll continue to release a new video from this series each month, so if you're a fan of this type of content, please consider giving this video a like and our channel a sub. And, as always, thank you for watching.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. And another one.